Hey guys, this is Sandy. I'm a licensed realtor here in the Central Florida area and a Airbnb host and real estate investor. Today I want to do a video on how to choose the correct property for Airbnb in 2023. Now I want to be clear, Airbnb is a short-term rental platform, just like Booking.com, Vrbo, Owners Direct, and all these other different websites. A lot of people, when I talk sometimes to people, I'll say short-term renting, and they'll say, no, I want to Airbnb. And it's the same thing, guys. Airbnb is short-term renting. Short-term renting is Airbnb. Airbnb was just able to take that space or that name, much like Kleenex or Xerox. So when people think of short-term renting, all they could think about is Airbnb. That's how we use the word a lot. But it's really short-term renting. So let's get into it. I'm in the Central Florida area. So I'm around the Disney World area. And our area is very competitive. And we're competing with new construction homes, older homes, newer homes, people that have a great teamed out home, completely teamed out over-the-top homes, and then basic homes. So how are we going to choose the correct property to be profitable in 2023? Another thing that's going on in the market is market saturation, right? People are saying, oh my gosh, the Airbnb space is so saturated. And even if it's saturated, in my opinion, what you put on the market makes a lot of difference, right? You also have to know the timing of the market. So if you're about to put a property in the market for Airbnb or anything to do with short-term renting, you have to know the seasonality of that market to make sure that if you're putting it on in September, and in our area, September and October are two slow months. So if you put it on in September and you don't get a booking until 3 weeks, you're shaking like, oh my God, I'm not getting any booking. And then you keep discounting your prices, which is not a good idea, because then you're going to attract the wrong crowd. And you're going to be decreasing your prices because you're thinking it's the price. But it's not the price, it's the time of the year. So the first thing you're going to do in choosing a property to be an Airbnb is learning the area that you're going to be doing Airbnb in. What is that area? What does that area look like? What is their seasonality? What is the busiest time? What's the slowest time? And even though you probably cannot choose when you want to put it on the market, you definitely want to look into, if I'm putting it on September, then I know I may not get a booking for a few weeks because it's the slowest month. But at the same time, you may luck out. You may just put it on in September and you might get a booking. And then you may not get a booking again for 2 or 3 weeks. And then you're bugging out again. So seasonality is very important, guys. Another thing is proximity to what you're attracting. So like in our area, Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld is where the attraction is, why people are coming to the area. However, there are also people coming to the area for different reasons. There are also people coming to the area for jobs, right? Temporary jobs, because of the tourism that we're in. There are also people coming to the area because they're relocating, but they want to rent a furnished home for a few months before they actually, buy what they want. There are also people that are coming to stay for a while, meaning they're going to be here for a month or two vacationing, because the people from outside of the U.S. vacation a little bit different than the people in the U.S. People in the U.S. vacation typically 1 or 2 weeks. People outside the U.S. vacation basically 3 weeks to like 6 weeks to like 2 months, even sometimes 3 months, right? So it's a different kind of vacationing. And because we're in Central Florida, we get people from all over the world because of Disney World. So that's something that's going to be key for us. So based upon the market that you're in, where is your location to what you're trying to attract? So in our area, are you only going to try to attract people going to Disney? Or do you want to attract everyone? And I would say you want to attract everyone, whether they're going to Disney, or they're coming for 6 weeks, or they're coming to stay for 2 months. You want to attract everyone. So the location is going to be key. At the same time, being that Disney, SeaWorld, and Universal is the pull to the area, you don't want to be more than 30 minutes away from those attractions, right? So 15 to 20 minutes is normally the safe state. Like 15 to 20 minutes, awesome. Up to 30 minutes, great. If you're more than 30 minutes, then you're going to have to do something more to attract someone to be profitable. So how do you stay profitable and how do you keep your calendar booked? The first thing you got to do is you got to diversify. Meaning you got to be an Airbnb, you got to be on Booking, you got to be on Vrbo, you got to be on all this stuff. And you're going to choose the location that's within no more than 30 minutes, if possible, to any of these theme parks. Okay, that's going to be super important. When you're choosing your location, you also want to know that in 2023, you want to automate the property. The property needs to be automated. So that means you need to have a smart lock on the door so people could punch in the code. Forget about key and key in a key box. They're not going to want to deal with that, right? You want to make sure that all the TVs in your home is smart. You want to have all smart TVs, right? You don't want to have a dumb TV. And if you have a regular TV, just get a Roku stick or a Fire Stick and make it smart, right? That's going to be super important. In our area, a pool is going to be super important, like super duper important. So having a pool home, or if you're going to buy a townhome or a condo, in our area, some townhomes do have a pool, so that's great. If you're buying a condo, make sure you have a beautiful amenity area that offers a beautiful pool, so people are going to be able to get to the pool. It's Florida. When I used to live in New York, the two things I used to think about when I think about Florida is a pool and good air conditioning, right? Those are the two things. So you want to make sure that's possible. You also want to make sure, you want to think about this, guys. Choosing the property. What's my budget? Can I afford to furnish the home myself? Or do I want to buy it already furnished, right? Based upon your budget. If you buy it already furnished, that's awesome, because now you're going to probably need to change out a few of the furniture pieces. But also now you probably have more flexibility to decorating it because you don't have to think about buying furniture. If you have the budget where you can afford to buy your own furniture, you got to think about, you don't want to buy cheap furniture. You don't want to buy the most expensive furniture, but you want to be in the middle of it, right? So that's going to be important. So you need to know your budget. Can I afford to buy furnished? And if I'm buying furnished, what conditions the furniture is in, right? Am I buying furnished, but I'm going to have to replace all the furniture? Or am I buying furnished where I could take out a few pieces, put in my own personal touches, and that would make sense? So you need to choose a property that makes sense. Another big thing in our area, huge deal if you're buying in our area and any other area in the US or anywhere else. I'm going to talk about the US though. Make sure the property is zoned for short-term renting, guys. So many people buy the property thinking, well, it's close to Disney World, so I know I could do Airbnb here, only for the HOA people to tell them this property is not zoned for Airbnb. So you need to know that it's zoned for short-term renting, Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, whatever it is. Make sure it's zoned for short-term renting. Number 2, are there any restrictions on the short-term renting? Meaning, can I rent from one day to whenever I want? Because some neighborhoods will have restrictions where you can't rent for less than 30 days. So it got to be 30 days or more. And if you rent, and even if you rent some for 30 days and someone only stayed 2 weeks, you cannot rent again for that month until the next month. You need to know if they have restrictions like that. Some neighborhoods might have restrictions on every 3 months. Whoever that comes in there got to rent for 3 months. And even if they don't rent for 3 months, you cannot rent again in that 3-month space. Does it have that kind of restriction? Does it have a 30-day restriction where you can't rent for more than 30 days? Meaning you could rent from 1 to 30 days, but you cannot rent to anyone that's wanting to stay over 30 days. Does it have that kind of restriction? Those are some of the stuff that you must examine before you choose a property. Whether you're going to buy the property or you're doing the Airbnb arbitrage, you must know what the restrictions are. Is short-term renting allowed in that area? Is there any restrictions on the length of time that the guests can stay there? Is it 1 to 30 days? Is it up to 90 days, right? Is it 1 to 7 days? Is it any time, right? Another thing you need to know is, if it's zoned for short-term renting, can I also do long-term? So let's say something happened and you could not rent it for short-term anymore. You want to do long-term renting. Is the area or the development you're buying in restricting that, right? Is there a restriction on, you can do short-term, but you can't do long-term? Because if you're in a community that only allows for 30-day renting, obviously you cannot do long-term renting in that community, right? Unless something happened like COVID and they decide to slacken up their rules. But we don't know, and we don't want to bet on that, right? Because the HOA might just say, yeah, we don't care. It's still a 30-day maximum. You can't rent over 30 days. So these are some of the things that you must examine before you choose the location for your short-term renting or your Airbnb property. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I don't like to make the videos too long, but if you have any questions, feel free to call or text us 407-791-4713. Our number should be somewhere in the video or maybe down below. And we will be able to just talk to you. We love talking to you guys. We get so many phone calls, so many texts on different Airbnb scenarios. We're here for you. We specialize in Airbnb itself, any short-term renting space, and also Airbnb arbitrage or Booking.com. A big thing that's coming up this year, 2023, which I'm going to spend a lot of time on, is getting your own website so you could do your own direct booking, right? Yes, you still want to be on the different major platforms, but you also want to build your brand, and you want to also have your own owner's direct booking where you're only answering to yourself. Because on the platforms, you got to answer to the platforms. But if you have your own website, you answer to you. And if something comes up and a guest reports you for all these different crazy reasons that I'm hearing about on Airbnb, and Airbnb decides to suspend your account or kick you off of their platform, if you're doing direct booking, that may not hurt you too badly. But you don't want to wait for it to happen. You want to have this in place if it were to happen, right? Thank you so much for listening. Again, my name is Sandy. I am here in Central Florida in the Disney World area, but I specialize a lot in Airbnb arbitrage, all these different things. If you have any questions, concerns, if you're thinking of doing Airbnb but you're not sure, give us a call, send us a text. We do these consultations all the time. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next video.